Napheesa Collier just got embarrassed on live TV, and the reason is wild. She sat there acting like the WNBA should copy her and the new unrivaled league, but the facts point the other way. Caitlin Clark has driven record TV numbers and packed arenas like the WNBA hasn't seen before, while Unrivaled is playing in a small gym with only a few hundred people. And here's the real issue: Collier isn't talking like a neutral voice. She co-founded Unrivaled. So if the WNBA gets weaker, her business can profit big. That's a major conflict of interest, and it's why a lot of fans are calling this more than criticism, and more like a plan to damage the league. Drop your opinion in the comments. The interview started calm, but it turned fast. Collier looked confident and told the host the WNBA should learn from Unrivaled, especially on how players are treated and how a league should be run. The problem is, her league runs out of one gym in Miami, yet she was lecturing a long-running pro league. When the host brought up attendance and viewership, everything shifted. Collier started tripping over her words, trying to explain why Unrivaled draws around a few hundred fans while Clark's Fever games were filling arenas with about 15,000 loud fans. She kept saying her league is sustainable and player-focused, but she couldn't answer the simplest point: if it's so much better, why is the audience so tiny? Then the host hit her with ratings. Clark's playoff games versus Connecticut pulled over 2 million viewers on ESPN, and her rookie and second-year games kept breaking WNBA records week after week. Unrivaled, meanwhile, only reaches a small crowd online. Collier tried to argue that quality beats quantity, but it didn't land. The worst moment came when she suggested veterans like her deserve the credit for the league's current surge. The host checked her immediately. Clark brought mainstream attention to women's basketball at a level the league never reached in 20-plus years. The host kept pushing the bigger issue: how can Collier be a vice president of the WNBA Players Union while also owning a league that competes with the WNBA? She dodged the question and switched to talking about player rights and better work conditions, but she never dealt with the loyalty problem. She said she wants the best for women's basketball, yet she couldn't explain how attacking the WNBA helps that. By the end, she looked worn down because she couldn't defend why anyone should trust business advice from a league that barely shows up on the sports radar. The host reminded viewers that Clark's impact is measurable. Jersey demand, ticket sales, ratings, and online engagement all jumped in her first 2 seasons. Collier had nothing solid to counter it, just generic lines about honoring the past. And that's what made the segment so revealing. It didn't feel like a real effort to improve the WNBA. It felt like marketing for Unrivaled. Every time Collier blasts WNBA leadership, it positions her league as the better option, even when the numbers don't support that. The conflict is right in front of everyone. As a union leader, she's supposed to fight for every WNBA player. As an Unrivaled founder, she benefits if the WNBA looks messy or unstable. Those roles don't match. When CBA negotiations happen, she should be protecting the WNBA's future. But forcing extreme demands can weaken the league financially and make her alternative look more attractive. She's been pushing for a huge salary cap jump that could throw the league off balance. Negotiations have been extended multiple times because the requests are seen as unrealistic. The WNBA runs on TV money, tickets, and sponsorships. If player pay takes too much too fast, teams lose money, investors pull back, and the league gets shaky. And here's the part fans don't ignore: if the WNBA breaks down, many players would have limited choices, and Unrivaled becomes the obvious landing spot. Collier has also publicly gone after Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, questioning her decisions and leadership. She frames it as concern, but the result is simple: bad headlines make the WNBA look unstable, and that makes Unrivaled look like a cleaner option. From a business angle, it's smart in a cold way. She doesn't need Unrivaled to win on its own. She just needs the WNBA to look like it's falling apart. Then frustrated players and fans start searching for something else. That's why her negativity during the league's biggest growth era stands out. Clark brought a wave of new attention, and instead of riding it, Collier kept turning the focus to conflict. The damage gets worse because it poisons negotiations going forward. Engelbert has already pushed back publicly, saying Collier misrepresented private talks and spread wrong information. Now it's reached a point where both sides are basically calling each other dishonest in public, and that kind of mess helps nobody except someone who benefits from chaos. Collier also tried to rewrite the story of who truly changed the WNBA's popularity. Clark didn't just put up good games, she shifted the whole fanbase in America. Her Iowa March Madness runs pulled massive audiences, often bigger than many men's college games. The day she landed in Indiana, Fever tickets became a hot item overnight. The TV results are clear: Fever games were regularly around 1 million viewers, and that playoff series with Connecticut hit about 2.5 million. Those aren't just good for the WNBA. Those are major sports numbers. Before Clark, even strong WNBA matchups often struggled to hit 500,000 viewers. Yet Collier still pushed the idea that veterans deserve the main credit because they built the foundation. The issue is simple: veterans had decades to create that mainstream moment, and it never happened like this. Attendance tells the story even louder. Indiana went from half-empty crowds to sold-out arenas. Road games turned into big events, with other teams moving games to bigger venues just to fit demand for Clark. Fans wore Clark jerseys in cities she hadn't even played in before. Collier saw the attention and, instead of celebrating what it meant for the sport, started talking like she wants to redirect that audience. She kept making careful statements about the WNBA not valuing players enough, not supporting development enough, and having bad leadership. The timing says everything. During the league's biggest growth window ever, she kept feeding drama. Every negative headline helps her business. Casual fans who came because of Clark start reading about fights and dysfunction and might lose interest. Others may start following players elsewhere. That's exactly where Unrivaled tries to slide in. Clark created a cultural moment, highlights everywhere, kids copying her shots, parents buying tickets for the first time, and a new crowd paying attention. And fans feel Collier is willing to risk that momentum to give her startup a better shot. The reaction online has been intense. People have posted side-by-side images of packed Fever arenas versus near-empty Unrivaled seats. Comment sections and forums have been full of criticism, even from longtime WNBA supporters. Engelbert eventually snapped back publicly, directly disputing Collier's version of talks and accusing the union side of spreading misinformation. It escalated into a public fight, with questions about whether Collier can ethically represent WNBA players while running a competing league. Now press events keep turning into accusation battles, and every week it gets louder. Union officials fired back by attacking Engelbert's leadership and claiming they're fighting for player welfare, and the media turned every quote into more headlines. Players like Sophie Cunningham are stuck in the middle. They want higher pay and better conditions for everyone, but supporting the union's approach also means supporting Collier's aggressive strategy that some fans believe could damage the league. So players are forced to choose: stand with the union leadership, or protect the WNBA while it's finally gaining real mainstream traction. The biggest threat is a lockout that could wipe out the 2026 season. That would be a disaster for the millions of new fans who discovered women's basketball through Caitlin Clark. Indiana is building a real core with Clark running the show, Aaliyah Boston controlling the paint, Kelsey Mitchell bringing veteran scoring, and Lexi Hull growing into a key defender. A shutdown could kill that momentum and push fans to move on to other sports. Collier wouldn't feel the same pressure because Unrivaled would still have games to promote. In a lockout, her league becomes the only option, which would hand her a huge advantage. And that's why the situation worries people. New fans are watching this drama and wondering if the WNBA is stable enough to support long-term. The irony is brutal. During the most successful stretch the WNBA has had, one of its own top voices appears to be helping create instability. That live TV moment showed what many viewers already suspected. Collier's public messaging looks less like pure advocacy and more like promotion for her own league while the WNBA takes the hit. The WNBA recently secured a massive media rights deal and is adding expansion under Engelbert, while Clark delivered growth that veterans never matched for decades. Fans don't want divided loyalty wrecking the momentum. If you care about women's basketball, the argument is that the sport needs leaders who truly want the WNBA to thrive, not people who benefit if it weakens. What do you think? Was Collier out of line? Drop your take, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Click the next video on screen and I'll see you there. If Collier's message was truly only about putting players first, she would have answered the tough questions directly and explained, in plain terms, why Unrivaled's model can outperform the WNBA long-term. Instead, the interview showed her leaning on broad talking points and sliding past the main issue. Fans don't have a problem with a new league existing. People like options. The problem starts when someone holds a major union leadership role while also being the public face of a competing league. In that situation, every public statement instantly feels questionable. And when the criticism gets louder during the WNBA's biggest growth moment, it makes people ask the obvious: is this real advocacy, or is it salesmanship? For the WNBA, the smart play is protecting momentum and protecting trust. A lot of new viewers didn't show up just for highlights. They showed up because the league finally felt exciting, consistent, and worth following. If league issues and union battles keep turning into public drama, casual fans will simply tune out. And if that audience drops, the damage doesn't stop at the front office. It hits the players too, because fewer viewers means weaker sponsorships, slower revenue growth, and fewer future opportunities. That's why fans are now pushing for clearer lines, more transparency, and leadership that looks fully committed to the WNBA success, not leadership that benefits if the league looks unstable.